In the trucking business, a large number of tire problems are the result of underinflated tires. The Meritor Tire Inflation System by PSI offers a very efficient and simple solution to monitor and control tire inflation levels automatically. And installation is straightforward and easy to perform. We'll take a look at all the steps necessary to properly install the system, and then we'll look at maintenance. So let's get started. Installing the system begins with identifying the type of axle on the trailer. The most common axles you'll work with are hollow spindle and solid spindle axles. We'll be working with a hollow spindle axle for our example. For procedures to install the system on solid spindle axles, call Meritor's Customer Service Center at 800-535-5560. And before beginning any work, be sure to wear safety glasses to help prevent eye injuries. Some manufacturers ship their axles with a top center identifier hole. You can use this hole as a pilot when you drill. The first step is to locate the top center of the axle and install the air fitting. This is the preferred location on all axles. At the top center of the axle, drill an 11/32 diameter hole. Be sure you use lubricant and drill straight into the axle. Then tap the hole with a 1/8 inch NPT tap and hand tighten the fitting into the tapped hole. Now, use a wrench to tighten the fitting about 2 more turns and stop when it faces the side of the trailer where you'll install the control box. The control box is normally mounted on the roadside rear of the subframe facing the rear of the trailer. Next, cover the wheel end assembly to guard against contamination and to protect the bearings. Remove the spindle plugs from both ends. Be careful not to damage or score the inside diameter of the spindle bore. Use a bore polisher to remove any sealant or machine marks on the surface of the spindle bore. If the spindle has cotter pin holes, use the Rex Cut abrasive tool to remove metal burrs and edges from the inner face of the spindle bore. Connect the cleaning wand to a high-power air supply and slowly insert it all the way through the axle spindle. Use a flashlight and look through the spindle to be sure all residue has been removed, including loose rust and scale. Repeat the cleaning procedure if necessary. With a clean pair of latex gloves, clean the exposed O-ring and the outside diameter surface of one press plug. Also, remove any grinding dust, grease, or oil from the spindle bore. Be sure to protect the surfaces from any contamination. Next, install the correct press plug drive adapter on the drive handle. Using a clean pair of latex gloves, apply Loctite 620 evenly to the outside diameter of the press plug. Do not allow the Loctite to contact any other surface. Insert the press plug into the spindle bore until the plug stops in the bore. Be sure the tapered end of the press plug extends out from the end of the spindle by 1/8 to 1/4 inch. Insert the drive adapter into the press plug and use a 4-pound hammer to drive the plug into the bore. When the drive adapter bottoms out evenly on the face of the axle spindle, the plug is correctly installed. Be sure to remove excess Loctite from the spindle surfaces, threads, and installation tool. Apply thread sealant to the stator threads and hand tighten it into the press plug. Then, use a wrench to tighten the stator approximately 2.5 turns to complete the press plug installation. Wheel end component installation begins with the hubcap. Install the hubcap with the 3/8 inch fill plug on the top half of the axle spindle. Grease applications will not have a fill plug. Then, tighten the hubcap bolts to the trailer manufacturer's specifications. Install the relief valve over the shoulder of the through tee. And be sure you don't bend the 1/8 inch brass tube. Now, carefully push the through tee into the hubcap to insert the brass tube into the stator. Hand tighten the through T. Then use a wrench to tighten it one full turn and align the fittings with the tire valve stems. Attach the system's tire hoses to the tire valve stems using a 7/16 inch wrench. We'll attach the hoses to the through T later. The system control box can be installed to the subframe using the supplied mounting bracket, or you can mount the box directly to the subframe by drilling 3 1/4 inch holes using the mounting bracket as a template. Complete the installation by using the supplied fasteners to secure the control box. The pressure protection valve, or PPV, controls air for other trailer functions and maintains pressure if a blowout occurs or if the system lines are damaged. The trailer system must have a minimum of 80 PSI before air will be delivered to the tire inflation system. Before beginning installation, drain all the air from the tank. Mount the pressure protection valve to a spare port on the system air tank. The top half of the tank is the preferred location. Be sure the slotted screw in the valve is facing down. Begin airline installation by routing one airline from the pressure protection valve to the input port on the control box. Next, route an airline from the output port of the control box to the airline T. To complete the airline installation, route the airlines to the fittings on the axle you installed earlier. Be sure to leave enough slack in the lines to allow for suspension movement, and use tie wraps to secure the tire inflation system airlines to the existing lines. The indicator light for the tire inflation system is mounted on the front road side of the trailer, 30 inches from the bottom of the coupler and as close to the radius as possible. Next, route the cable from the indicator light to the 7-way box on the trailer. Be sure to allow enough slack for the electrical cable. Now, route the electrical cable from the system control box to the 7-way box on the trailer and connect it to the flow sensing switch in the control box. Finally, make the appropriate electrical connections in the 7-way box to complete the indicator light installation. Now that the system has been installed, it's time to check it for basic operation and leaks. First, connect an air pressure source capable of supplying 120 PSI to the trailer glad hands. Be sure the petcock is closed and that the shutoff valve is in the on position. Next, check for airflow to the through T by inserting a short piece of 1/4 inch tubing into the fitting. Air should flow from the valve. Confirm that the indicator light is operating properly. The light will come on when air flows from the valve, and it will turn off when the air stops. Check the hoses for proper operation by pushing on the valve cores. Air from the tire should flow through the valve. Check for leaks by spraying a soap and water solution on the connection at the valve stem and on the valve core. If any leaks appear, tighten the fittings and repeat the leak check. If the leaks continue, replace hardware as necessary. Finally, hand tighten the system hoses to the through T using the knurled fittings. Now that you've installed the tire inflation system, be sure to repeat the leak test on all hoses, connections, and fittings. Tighten or replace any components that continue to leak. With the system installed and leak tested, You'll need to set the system pressure. Be sure that the shutoff valve is on and that the available air pressure is set to 120 PSI. Remove the hoses from the through tees in the center of the hubcaps. Use the valve cores to reduce pressure in all tires by at least 15 PSI from the fleet's standard setting. Check the reading with an air gauge. Select a tire to use as a test tire and reconnect the hose to the through tee. After the pressure stabilizes, disconnect the hose from the through tee on the test tire. Use a reliable gauge to check the pressure of the test tire. It should equal the system pressure. Turning the adjustment knob in the control box approximately 1/8 turn clockwise will increase tire pressure. Turn it counterclockwise 1/8 turn to decrease pressure. When the test tire is inflated to the correct pressure, reconnect all hoses to the remaining tires. The system will automatically inflate all tires to the test tire pressure. If the wheel end is lubricated with oil, be sure you fill it to the correct level. It must be below the level of the wheel end vents. Check the trailer manufacturer's specifications for proper oil installation. Attach a system identifier decal on each side of the trailer, above the tandem. Install the indicator light decal on the trailer just below the indicator light. The Meritor tire inflation system by PSI can help reduce tire wear when installed and maintained properly. Be sure to refer to Installation and Maintenance Manual 14P for troubleshooting information if problems should arise. The tire inflation system requires simple maintenance to keep it operating properly. Check the indicator light operation by first opening the petcock at the control box and draining the air. The light should come on to indicate proper operation. Periodically remove the filter bowl in the self-draining filter and inspect it for any obstructions. The tire inflation system must be turned off whenever you perform any wheel end maintenance. Turn the shutoff valve on the control box to the off position. Open the petcock and drain the air pressure from the tire inflation system. Now you can perform your work safely with the system discharged. When your work is complete, remember to return the valve to the on position. Be sure that you check tire pressure regularly and check the system for leaks. Thorough maintenance checks can help keep your equipment operating properly and increase efficiency. If you follow these guidelines, the Meritor tire inflation system by PSI should provide reliable service and help increase tire life.